All right, so we are here taking a look at Fixel, which you can download for free and play on Steam. And I'm joined by Victor. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. How are you?
Yeah, doing fine. We're just into the this is the third level at this point.
Yep. Looks like it. Maybe fourth level.
So, I gotta ask, what was the inspiration behind making a totally free to play, just chill vibes, color puzzle game?
Well, I have this ongoing theory that the future of all games is that they'll all be free, like the mobile market is.
Hmm.
So I'm just getting ahead of it.
Okay. Um, and then in this case, the is there are there any donations via the game, or how are you planning
Nope.
to? Not at all.
No money. No money for me, please. The only way to succeed, I think, is to not focus on the money part.
I do understand the idea of not wanting to focus on the money part. I guess I'm just wondering if someone really enjoyed this game and they specifically wanted to support you, is there even maybe nothing within the game, but is there a Patreon model they could join, or is there any way
No
people could?
Patreon, no PayPal, no nothing. I've actually declined offers to send me money on PayPal. Just keep playing my games, keep referring them. That's the best thing they can do.
I mean, I do understand the idea of building up a sort of a
Just the
user
fastest way
base,
to do
and
it.
yeah, certainly. Uh, hmm.
And time is ticking because eventually the AIs will be making all the games. So we gotta establish ourselves before that.
I mean, it's I've made some comments about AI on this channel before, so I'm a little curious. What is your stance on AI use as a tool for game development?
Humans using AI,
Yes.
um, yeah, whatever. I don't think it really matters in the long time,
Okay.
time scale, because in like maybe 3 or 4 years, I don't think there's going to be a market for human-made games at all.
Hmm. That's interesting. I mean, I I guess I've always been optimistic about the possibility of humans using tools to make experiences um certainly you can tap into an AI and have it make something for you. But I have this thought that like let's say, I've been together with my partner for a while and I think I know her tastes pretty well. If I were to use AI to craft something that is designed for her and then say hey, check this out, I made this, or rather I curated this for you, in the way that right now might find a fun video on YouTube and say hey, I think you'd like this. Do you think
Yeah,
that?
that's the short term. But
Okay.
eventually, everyone will have access to an app. You type in what kind of game you want, and it'll make
Mm.
it for you. So you won't need a middleman such as yourself to curate anything.
That's true, but I'm left thinking about the idea that I don't know. Okay, if I make a game, clearly I enjoy playing my own games. But if I have put a lot of effort into making something, there's no surprise there. And in a weird sort of way, if I have to tell an AI oh, make it so that there are surprises, that kind of gives it away.
Yeah,
So I feel
and
like
it'll make
there's
surprises. You'll be surprised. Why wouldn't it be able to do that? Why wouldn't it
because,
be able to surprise you?
well, let me put it this way: it's about um it might be able to surprise you, but it's about not knowing that there's a surprise there. It's about creating a game for somebody, um, and them tuning into it and realizing that it's a game that was made like for them without them having to be the one to prompt it, so that it is still like you still get to know what's in there, but you didn't have to tell it, I do want this, I do want this, I don't want that, I don't want that.
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
think
you might
there's
be
still
describing a startup in 5 years that does exactly that.
yeah, it's entirely possible, and I don't need the entire conversation to be sidetracked with thoughts on AI, but I figured like since it came up, I just wanted to establish that
Yeah.
because everyone has their own opinions, which I don't want to say like it is all so up in the air, and I do not want to make any definitive statements about like people should or should not think a certain way.
Hmm.
Um,
I come from I used to be a watchmaker. I still am, I guess. Before game dev, and I've seen what technology does to industry of handmade stuff. It eliminates the feasibility for it to remain handmade.
mm, I see. Just from the perspective of if like this when I'm wearing on
You
my
could
wrist
still
right
make a
now.
watch by hand, but
Yes,
no one does because no one cares.
right. Yeah, I mean it's but okay. Some people do very much still appreciate the intentionality and the handcraftedness of something. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I
There's still people hand making horseshoes, right? But it's not like you can't like have millions of people go into the horseshoe business out of high school, you know?
That's true. Yes. No, we
You
we
can have
we.
one person do that, but not millions.
Mhm. This is weirdly like a perfect like Zen game to be idly continuing to play
So yeah,
while we
that's
have.
that's my idea
Yeah.
with this whole thing is like try to establish some sort of IP or
Hmm.
whatever because that's the only thing that will differentiate you in the future. Because it will be illegal, obviously, to for AIs to copy my games or copy my
Mm.
IP or whatever. So that's the only thing you have left, I think.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, the I'm really trying to like think on that statement, and I think it's very true. Like it is, it's going to be as true in future as it ever has been. Like it is always important to establish your brand, I suppose, for lack of a better way of saying things. Um, you want to like people come to you and your games because they know that they are going to get a certain kind of experience, or they come to watch your streams because they expect a certain kind of entertainment. And yes, like that is, you know, the same way that there are games copied by companies, there are illustrations that people make that are traced over, there are music tracks that are sampled to varying degrees of legality. Um, there is always going to be people who want to create with minimal effort. And I think AI is certainly going to exacerbate that because it is going to take the barrier of entry so far down. Um, but I do think it is also going to enable a lot of people who just like want to get an idea out of their head to make something or to the example I made earlier, to be able to make something for somebody. And what's special about it is not necessarily, oh, you spend so long, you spent all this effort on this. It's like, no, but you spent a really long time getting to know that person and getting to know their tastes really well, and you were able to craft them something that was meaningful to them. And I think we will end up in the situation where it becomes just much easier to create and share things on a much more local level, in the way that right now you can make a game that you can distribute and sell and people like all over the world can play it. Or you can be a dungeon master and you can play with a local group of friends and you can make those people's lives. You can enrich those people's lives by meeting on a weekly basis and like playing in this fantasy that you've created for a small group, intentionally keeping those people in mind. It depends on how good your dungeon master is, I suppose.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, in terms of like building this game out, um, which engine was this made with?
Construct 3.
Ah, okay. Yeah, so I was gonna say I didn't see a Unity splash screen at the start.
I could add one. I think I might be infringing though if I try. Although Unity doesn't have a good reputation these days, I guess maybe I shouldn't add one just for fun.
No, I think that if this is made with something custom, then it's better to distance yourself from it.
Yeah.
So, do you want to talk a little
Yep.
bit about like where did the idea for this come from?
It's an example project provided by Construct that I expanded. And I believe that they got that example project by cloning a mobile game called I Love Hue. And I Love Hue got it from this, I can't remember what it's called. It's like a board game version of
I've
this.
seen that. I've seen
Just a
that.
series of people
Yeah.
copying stuff.
Oh, that's really. I mean, you know, if that doesn't just say it all, but oh wow, some of these hues are very close to each other. I think,
Yeah, some
yeah.
people have discovered that their color vision isn't as perfect as they thought when playing this
Mm.
game, or their monitor calibration. Dragging this window onto different monitors, people have seen that two different monitors don't display the same colors.
Oh yeah. I, trust me. I knew my monitor calibration was off before I even started playing this game. This is a like cheapo Dell monitor. It is not like factory color calibrated to any great degree of precision.
Yeah, it varies, but you know,
Yeah, I mean,
it's all good.
so this is. I mean, you talked about this being something that like you wanted to like build a reputation out, but I guess I'm still trying to get at the like you chose it to be this and not something else. Is there a reason it was this? Was this just easy and it just felt right?
Yeah, I
Or
wanted something I could do quickly. So the
Mhm.
entire from start to Steam launch, it was about 60 hours of development. So I wanted to make sure I could, because I planned to do about 5 of these a year,
Mhm.
5 different small games on Steam a year,
Oh,
or
cool.
maybe not per year, but
Mhm.
this year I have 4 more. Uh, so yeah, just kind of small-ish stuff.
Could I persuade you that there's no reason to turn down donations or a Patreon model along those lines? Like, is there a reason that you're so dead set against it?
It's maybe just a pride thing. I don't want to be like begging for scraps.
Mm.
I'd rather if I'm gonna monetize, do it properly and like I'll actually offer great value to the people giving me money, not just charity.
Mm. Okay. I mean, I guess it's just the way I see it is if you have people like I totally sympathize. Like, I don't like e-begging, right? No one likes to see it. No one wants to be doing it. Think about like I occasionally remember to say if you enjoy the stream, please consider following me. But I will never like solicit subscriptions or anything like that. Um, that's not true. I mean, I did say like people could jump the queue and get ahead if they subscribe. I did that during certain game jams when there was just a lot of demand. Um, but yeah, I think that you could strike a balance between not um, tarnishing the experience of what you're creating and what you're sharing, but still making it so that people who are genuinely enjoying this, they want to kick you a couple extra bucks here or there. Like, I know this is
But
available on
what's the point?
Steam.
How does that help me?
I
Like
mean,
why do it? What's the point of that?
money can be exchanged for goods and services.
Well, I have enough money for the goods and services I plan to use, so
It's, I'm glad. I'm glad. Like it's clearly it's not true of everyone. Like you have a day job, right?
yeah.
Um, and that is what you're supporting yourself on right now. Um, but I guess I don't see what the harm would be in having this available on itch.io as a pay what you want download.
It's on itch, but it's no donation
Right.
available. It's on itch, Newgrounds, Cool Math, and Steam, all free.
Mm-hmm.
Even the multiplayer's free.
Hmm. And
Oh,
how's the multiplayer working?
it's a 1v1 battle. Whoever fixes the thing first wins.
Okay. And
Or, yeah.
how is it hosted?
It's not hosted, it's peer to peer.
Oh, I see. Okay. I mean, just as long as there is no direct expense to you, I suppose. Um,
Well, it was $100 for the Steam fee. Other
okay.
than that, no expenses.
Right. And like I a while ago I participated in the like 10-minute game initiative where me and 9 other developers put out 10 games that were 10 minutes apiece, and like our sales goal for the 10 MG collection was just, hey, let's make back the Steam fees. And people were very generous and they donated a fair bit, and like this looks like a good chunk of change. You do
Hmm.
have to
I'm
remember
familiar
that.
with one of the people involved with that.
Oh yeah,
They said they're never going to do it again because it was too much work.
yes. Well, that's what I was about to say. Is that $5,500 looks like a lot, but then you divide that by 10 people, and it's $500 at the end of the day. Um, I think that there was a lot of discussion among us as developers of like, oh, maybe we'll try doing this again, and then no one really pushed that forward because I think we all had that same impression of like, this was neat, but it's not a good way to make a living with your game development.
Yeah, I think the easiest, the most straightforward way to earn money from game development is to accumulate a lot of fans
Mhm.
and then sell them a product eventually.
Yeah,
Step one, accumulate fans. And putting price barriers in the way while you're trying to do that is unwise, unless you
mm,
desperately need money.
that's true. That is, my God, that is so true. Like I just, that is a thing that I have told people a lot. Um, like th- when I first started out making games, I put them up for sale. Like I was so determined to make a product because that felt like, hey, look at me, I'm a professional, I'm making and selling games. And then, well, guess what? When you put your games behind a paywall, no one plays them. So I've increasingly thought about the prospect of like going back and evaluating some of the games that I put up for like a payment, like this one, Orbit. I think that this is a decently fun game. It kind of works in HTML5, so yeah, like I might go back to this game and see if I can get a version that you can play in browser for free. But I guess I don't see the harm in allowing for, like, if it is just a pay what you want kind of thing, then yeah, I think like um absolutely 99% of people, well, let's say 99.99% of people will not pay for the experience. Um and there's
Well,
also
here's a
just
thought
a,
experiment.
sure.
If there's some amount of goodwill that a person that is accumulating inside of a person,
Hmm.
they play your one game, they love it. Maybe they play a second game, they love it, and think, "Holy crap, this guy deserves to be paid for what he makes. I wish there was a way to donate."
Mm.
Why don't you just like bottle all that up and use it on like a proper game launch instead of taking like $5 or whatever from them? I think the
um
bottled up goodwill
mhm.
is more powerful than converting it to cash.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, I guess personally there is a a feeling of, if somebody feels something in the moment, then maybe let them express their thanks in the moment, because things are, there's a fleeting feeling of like you try something, you play it for free, you think like that's cool, and then you move on. um
Right, yeah.
and I'm not saying that that goodwill is like gone forever, like oops, you didn't capitalize on someone, you missed your chance and it's just forever squandered. Like no, not something that pessimistic. um and I'm also like, you have clearly put a lot of thought and effort a lot of thought into this, so it's not even, I know I said earlier, let me see if I can change your mind about this, but it's more that I'm now just kind of prodding you to elaborate on your stance, because I think you're
Hmm.
quite right, but I also think that you might be
Maybe also
surprised.
should mention
Mm,
that the next free game we have coming out has a paid DLC, but that's more so to
mm,
see what the numbers look like on that. Not necessarily, it's just a test, you know.
mm,
I'm not sold on the idea, but I've also, unfortunately, I can't make that game free because the people involved, I already promised revenue share. So
mm, mm,
I
mm.
can't get rid of the DLC. I would love to fold it all in and make it all free, but I can't. But it'll be
Right.
a good experiment anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly. I mean, I have, and I have made games myself that have been free and offered, like, click here to donate or whatever, and then they just don't get clicked, you know. But that's also like reaching a really, really small audience. Like, I think it's great that you were able to reach a much broader audience. And when you put it up on like Cool Math Games, like I know that they pay for a license for those. Like, did you accept payment, or did you just say like put this on your website for free?
Yeah. No, yeah, they contacted me and they wanted to buy it, so I just agreed.
Okay.
But if frankly, I hope they're not listening. But if they said, "Oh, I want to put it up for," and now we're not going to give you any money, I would have agreed to that too.
I mean, I think that they're like, having put a game on Cool Math Games myself, and Armor Games. I think there's certainly no harm in negotiation. Um, because the thing is, when you put a game up on Cool Math Games or Armor Games, etc., they are earning ad revenue, so it is becoming something that is earning them money. So I think at the very least, I know it is building your brand, but there's also that part of my brain that kicks back and says, like, don't work for exposure. This is different because this is something that you are doing yourself, but just make sure that that line is very clearly defined. And if other people are earning revenue based off of something that you have made, then, by all rights, you should at least be earning the licensing fee for that. So I'm glad that you were paid for those services by those websites.
Yeah, I think Itch also has ad revenue, but I'm not making any money from them. And an argument can be made that Steam is also making money from having cool free games on there as well.
That's true. I
But maybe not.
mean,
I don't know.
does I don't know. Like, I have ad blocker installed, so I don't see the ads. I don't think itch.io. I've never seen
Yeah, they have
ads.
ads. When you click on like download game or something for people who have downloadable games, that
Mm.
thing that pops up that some people have enabled where it begs people for money, like, hey, please give us
Yes,
$2.
yes.
That has ads on it. That window.
Oh, I don't think I've ever seen that. I mean, I
Well,
don't have
most
an
people
easy way
use
to
ad
pull it up.
blocker, so
Well, yeah.
yeah, the ad
Um,
blocker protects you. You'd be surprised what the internet looks like without an ad blocker these days.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I have relatives. I've seen their computers.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
But that was what I thought as well, Bart Moon, is that the ads were just for other games on itch.io.
I don't think so. I try to get a screenshot and see if I can find a game that has that.
I mean, it's usually pretty simple, because, like, think of how often people do forget to disable that. Like, I would tell you the number of people who submit jam games to me and then forget to turn that off. uh,
I've had some people defend it. They said, "Well, if someone wants to pay for my jam game, then then they can." I say, even asking is an insult, in my opinion,
yes, I mean, I like
because they're already providing you free feedback. Now you want money too? God damn.
I yes, I agree, and then that is what I tell people as well. It's like, this is a jam game. Like, it's when you are participating, like, in the scope of the jam, turn that off, because you just want as many people to play your game as possible. So it really does seem like everything that we're discussing right now is kind of an evolution of that. Is the general attitude that you would have during a game jam is you just want as many people to play the game as possible. Um, and like, in that regard, I know that on Armor Games you can see the number of people who've played it. On Cool Math Games, they don't tell you. Um, Steam, obviously, you have analytics for, and itch.io, you have analytics for. So, how's it going? Like, how are the numbers?
Oh, I have even more than that. I built in telemetry in my game that reports to me how many people are doing what at what time and all the different settings they have enabled and stuff anonymously. Obviously, all I know is that
Yeah.
X, like random person beat level 3, random
Mm.
person beat level 4. So I have all kinds of data.
Hmm.
What did you ask? How many players?
Oh, I mean, just like in general, how's it going? Like, you don't have to give numbers unless you feel like it, but
Well, I can share whatever number. I love the number stuff. It's well, I don't know. It's going. How is it going? Is kind of relative. I mean,
mm,
if you asked, if you know, if Ubisoft launched the game and it had my numbers, they'd probably fire the entire team.
mhm.
But my, for me, I don't know. It seems okay. We've had about, as far as I can tell, obviously couldn't do the telemetry on Cool Math because they
Mm,
didn't let me.
yeah.
But as far as excluding Cool Math, it looks like about 2,200 people have played the game so far.
Hmm.
At least played one level. I don't know. Is that good? I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting. It's my first free game on Steam.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm also somebody with just like pretty historically low numbers in terms of like engagement, especially on a site like itch.io. I mean, if I take my most popular game on itch.io, which right now is broken because they changed their like back end stuff. Okay, this says 4,000 browser plays, or I'm rounding up generously there. It's 3,891. Um,
Let me see here on itch. In itch, I got 216. Itch is my lowest one.
mm. But that's also just a product of having the game up on a lot of services. I had my game up on itch.io for a very long time before I licensed it to any other website.
My first place was Newgrounds. Newgrounds did very well. I think Newgrounds had like 1,200 users or 1,300 users or something.
Yeah, and then all of this is to be contextualized within the scope of you made this in 60 hours, right? Like this is a game that I have
Yeah.
consequently like put well about probably close to like 2,000 hours or something into if I had
I
to
remember
back it down
playing
to that.
the Game Slice version of it. 2022
Yeah,
Game Slice, I think, or 2021. I can't remember.
yeah. So just the point being in terms of like the effort in versus return, I think that's a good ratio. Certainly,
Uh,
I'm curious about
Maybe.
the long term, like how this project ends up working out for you, just from a like I guess how far would you say you are from the point where you would consider um wow, I am
Like
nowhere
a
close to all
Kickstarter, a
this.
big commercial launch with a fixed price and all that stuff.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Um, I think I'm pretty far
Okay.
because I think you need hundreds of fans before you could try that and
Hmm.
succeed.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many fans I have. I would estimate it's about well, it depends, right? If I'm launching Fixel 2, it'll do a lot better than if I was like launching my dream RPG game.
Hmm.
Uh, so I'm not sure. It depends what it is. I might try to do a Fixel 2 that is just like a flat $5 fee or something in the
Hmm.
distant future. But I want to see. I want to let this game. What is it called? Ruminate.
Yeah.
Uh, let it
Let it
age a
stew.
little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think I'm pretty far. Unfortunately, I've agreed to a bunch of stuff before I came up with this idea of free stuff. Well,
Hmm.
before I decided to make everything free, I had agreed to a bunch of projects where I have to pay the people involved revenue share.
Hmm.
So for those ones, I have to monetize them reluctantly.
Hmm.
So I will be forced to do a premium game launch sometime early next year.
Right. And then
But it's
where are things at with Explory Story?
that's the one I'm gonna have to launch premiumly.
Hmm.
We'll see. We'll see. I got too many too many things going on at the moment.
Okay, that's
So
fair.
Explorer Story kind of got it kind of got frozen in time because we were dissatisfied with the feedback we got. I think we got about 200 or 300 feedback forms filled out over the course of a few months and a few different events and showcases.
Mhm.
And the overall reception was mild.
Mm.
By my standards, people reported that the game was mediocre, basically, as it is, as it was. So we've been improving it slowly in actuality, but more so in concept. So we've been thinking about how to make it better, how to make it more fun, and we'll get back to it eventually. It's still going to launch because I promised it would launch it, but
Mhm.
when specifically, I'm not sure.
All right. I mean, if you do end up at a point where you are looking for feedback on that project, like when it is still in active development, you can always reach out to me. Um, because I
Yeah,
suppose with
can
this
do.
game, Fixel, there's not much I can really say to it because the whole point is it was a 60-hour exercise. Done. Move on to the next thing.
Well, no, actually, it's not. That's not the end.
Mm.
That's the leading up to launch. But I also want to see if I can replicate or exceed the launch stuff with an update. So in about 2 weeks, there will be a big update and a big push again for marketing and all that stuff. I want to double my launch month
Mhm.
metrics,
Okay.
and I think I can do it because I'm trying to disprove the idea that you just get whatever you get when you launch.
Mm.
I think that you can relaunch and redo everything you did for launch as many times as you want, really,
That's
up until you
interesting.
saturate the entire market.
I mean, I do think that generally speaking, you you get a big spike when something comes out when it's brand new. Um, it's what you do end up with is when something is brand new, you get people clicking through it to say, "What's this?" When something is an update to something that is new, um, you get people who look at something and say, "Oh yeah, that," and that "Oh yeah, that" is either "Cool, I remember this. I'm going to click through it because I remember it," or "Ah, I've seen that already. I'm not going to click it because I wasn't interested the first time." So
Well,
you
yeah,
get
I mean, people who are seeing it new to them,
yes,
even 6 months from now, they'll be seeing
yes,
it for the first time. So I'm hoping to keep the new people flowing because, as far as I know, the game has only been exposed to about 100 to 200,000 people,
hmm
and there's way more than that that would be interested. So the journey keeps on going.
absolutely, and I think that is a really valuable experiment. Um, and if you're cool to share, like I would be very curious what your results end up being. Um, is this something that you plan on like just holding on to for your own purposes, or do you have any plans to kind of like publish your results? I suppose.
No, I didn't have any plans to publish my results. I don't publish anything like that. I
Hmm.
don't have like a blog or a YouTube channel or anything where I talk about game dev.
Hmm. I feel like there would
But
be.
I would be happy answering questions or telling people about it if it comes up.
I mean, certainly. Like again, there is. That's the main thing is I just don't want you to undervalue your time and your investment and your effort in all this because it's valuable. Like I'm telling you, like the same way
Well,
that
I think I'm doing something that will make me richer than what other people are doing. So it's kind of contrary to that.
I see. Um, I guess it's a
Like
matter
my
of
strategy, according
yeah.
to myself, my strategy is the strategy you do if you want to become wealthy.
Hmm. I mean, again, I'm not going to say like I guess all I'm
It's
trying to
obviously just highly speculative, of course. What do I know? But we'll see, I guess.
certainly, and I guess I see a possibility of how things go looking forward. Um, and I know how much effort it can take to monetize something and how it can sour people's opinion, and that is contrary to your intentions at this point. But if there was something subtly saying, if you like my works, consider supporting or a donation. Like that's never bothered me to see like the option of doing so. If I find that somebody has a Patreon, like don't even have to
Yeah,
say
you're really gonna hate what we have cooking up next for this game because we're actually gonna start giving away money on a free game. We have these tournaments planned where people compete for money, and it's coming straight out of my pocket.
I mean, if that is a way to like make your marketing dollars go further, I mean, like yeah, any time that there is cash on the line, I think that is going to get people interested.
Yeah. The name of the game is get as many players, get as many fans as possible at whatever cost.
Hmm. Interesting. Very interesting. We are drawing to a close for the time I have on stream today, but I don't know, Victor. I would love to have more conversations like this because you've clearly got a very interesting strategy going forward with this, and I I'm very curious how it works for you. I really hope it does work for you, um,
Yeah,
because
I'm even more curious because it involves me.
well, certainly, but I think that there are a good number of other people, myself included, who are very interested in seeing how this approach works for you. Um, and I just want to make sure that that is something that you are valuing. Um, how much this information could help other people, and if there's some way that some of the time that you spend on marketing the game, some of that is an open discussion about your approach and the what did and what didn't work. If you have like that in itself, I think would contribute to your following, if that makes sense.
That does make sense, actually. Maybe I should start blogging about it.
I think that the experiment, while it's still fresh in your head, while the details of like what did, what didn't work, what numbers are available, what you're willing to share, maybe it's I mean, let's be honest. That is going to be predominantly from a game dev perspective, and I have made that,
Mm-hmm.
shall we call it, mistake before. That thinking like, ooh, this is a neat game dev thing. This is going to be so interesting to people. It's like, well, it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
neat to other amateur game devs making platforming games. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's
That's the other thing that
yeah.
that I have a problem with. Some game developers say like, well, don't advertise your thing to game developers, or try to focus on building communities of players, not game developers.
Hmm, hmm.
But there's millions of game developers. If you can get like 10% of them to play your game, you'll be rich. Don't worry about it.
Absolutely, yeah, yeah. I mean, it like largely speaking, you don't want to limit your audience to other game developers. That's all. Um, but
Yeah, I guess.
I think that there is. It depends on the story. It depends on the direction you take things. I think there's a way to present this information that could be valuable to folks in other industries aside from game development. Like the model, this idea of like just building goodwill. I mean, clearly you are drawing from some experience. Would you say like this idea? Are you operating based on something that you saw somebody else do to any degree of success, or is this just like came to you?
Well, no, what I saw was all my friends launching games and case studies of people launching games and flopping. And the
Mm,
commonality between all of them was the price tag, or that there
hmm.
was a price tag,
Right.
among other things.
Yeah. No, it's very true. Um, but I will say that the small bit of pessimism I have against that is that when you put a price tag on something, you are saying this is valuable and worth paying for. When I get games for free on the Epic Store, I might play them. I probably won't. If I do try it and I don't have a good time, then I immediately just give up and uninstall it. There is no motivation for me to stick with it because it was free. I don't care. Um,
Yeah.
there's something about like
Contra-
once
con-
you've Sorry.
counter to that point.
Yeah.
What about Valorant, Overwatch, Counter-Strike, Dota? They're all free, baby.
Yeah.
And they're the most popular games, League of Legends, etc.
They're free to play, but they have monetization baked in. And
Well, they have that because they have like 10,000 employees. If they were made by
yes,
one person, they wouldn't need all that stuff.
yeah, it is true. Yeah, it's but that you also couldn't make a game of that scope by just one person.
Not yet. Maybe with
It's,
AI.
and this is where we get back to the very start of our conversation. So I think on that delightfully cyclical note, maybe we will wrap things up there for today. But thank you so much for making the time. I think this was a very interesting conversation. Um, what else can I say? But I wish you the best of luck with this. I
Thank you.
I
I'll post
really
updates in your Discord
I really
if I
appreciate
can.
that. If there's another opportunity, I'd love to have you back on and just talk, especially if you're building up to another release. Um, and I guess I want to say, like, don't don't take my like pushing back as a like don't do this, but I am definitely probing the concept. Partially to get you to talk about it and see how how the plan is shaping up, because I'm very curious. But it's also just a matter of I at no point do I want you to be so laser focused on make everything free uh, that you don't acknowledge
That I end up
the
homeless.
well.
End
I
up
mean,
under a bridge.
I am very glad that you said early on that you've got like you're not in a bad place financially. Um, but yeah, just broadly speaking, I don't think there's any. I wouldn't want the experiment to fall short because you cut off the possibility of the small seeds of support you could receive along the way that, you know, like I said, 99.99% of people will not pay. Um, like I had it open there on my itch.io page as well, right? Like I said, this is my most popular game. People can pay for a premium version of it to buy a local download. That means that basically 10, or yeah, so you can see right there, 8 people actually did. So 4,000 browser plays, rounding up, resulted in 8 people actually paying for it. It's minuscule. Um, but the game was still there, and people could still play it for free. You can play it on Armor Games for free. Um, and I guess the more resources you have, here's the best way I can phrase this. If you receive donations, talk about how you can then reinvest those into the experiment. Don't think of it as money you have to pocket. Think about how it's going to enable you to reach further, reach wider.
All right. Your words will echo in my head for months.
Okay. Well, I like I said, I really do appreciate the conversation, and yeah, whenever you have something that, if you are looking for feedback on a project that is the next release that you're working on, I'm always happy to take a look. Um, but yeah, for now, I shan't keep you any longer. Have yourself a great weekend, and yeah, I guess bye bye for now.
Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye for now.